My name is Ivan. I'm technical moderator for this and content moderator for this session. First of all, I would like to remind you what the topic we would discuss. It is team performance boost secrets. So quite challengeable and interesting topic because we all currently sitting working from home, yeah, and there is format of distributed management and workplace. I want to introduce Alex. Alex is really agile delivery coordinator in a really popular and famous company, a British-based company which has named Gödel Technologies. Alex has a wide experience in project management as well in different kinds of clients engagement with different types of client engagement like agile way, more traditional way, or so on. He uses modern agile and lean practices in his daily work and he is professional in Kanban, especially in Kanban method, and I hope he would share some of these secrets with us. And this talk would be about the team performance, what is quite popular currently, and I wish good luck with that. Only two things what I would suggest. If you see the chat section, yeah, I have shared before that and repeated the link to the section with event, yeah, and with his talk, and under that you have the field like comments. You have two options for asking the questions: to write down in the chat and or to write down in this page. I would monitor them both, but again, you can prefer. And my question and my ask to you is to mute yourself, just not to interrupt the talk and so on, because it would be much better. Again, if Alex would ask to ask the questions by voice, we can allow it, but better to do it at the end of the talk. So Alex, please, thank you so much for your time and thank you for your preparation to this session conference. Please go ahead.
Yep, for sure. Thanks for introduction. I'm sharing my screen. So a few words about myself. So I've been certified as a Kanban management manager professional 1 year ago. And before that, I've been working with Kanban method for a couple of years. And this method has completely changed my approach to work. And now I prefer to position myself as a person who helps to build services that deliver products rather than project manager. And this talk will be about my current project, which has pimped up greatly. We have an increased performance like 3 times, but let's go step by step. I will share the initial state of the project, exactly where we started, what was the challenges we were facing, how we have built our solution, and our practices used to reach our outstanding results. So let's go step by step. First of all, I would like to mention that and highlight again that I work in a service company that provides services for our clients. So also our format of working is helps us to feel like we are part of the product teams. We're still working in a service company and still responsible for our outcomes as a service company. And I've been assigned to a project which the customer was working with my company for more than 2 years at the moment when we started new stream in this project. And that was quite challenging, and there were big plans to increase clients' business. My team was good professional developers who had best recommendations in the company, and our customer was introduced and was a customer who communicates with service teams and listens to our suggestions and appreciates our expertise. And another challenging thing was about the product itself. So it's a product that's presented on the market for many years, and many years before, even before the digital era. So this kind of evolution of the project in according to changes in the modern world. But in fact, also it sounded like present, we had many challenges in the beginning. For example, we had big plans, but there were major issues with the backlog, and we didn't even had a chance to prepare in advance work for the next sprint. We had good professional developers who was working as individuals, and their responsibilities were limited by their role. So exactly, I'm talking about the situation where backend developers do only backend related work, and front-end developers do only front-end and layout changes, and some conflicts appear when they try to merge the changes in one branch, and this kind of conflicts. And we still had a good situation with a customer who understood the issues inside their company and wanted me to help to fix it. So I will tell more about the backlog and the initial process. So we've been focusing on delivering lots of items that didn't add value to the end customer. And we've been reporting all these standard reports like burn-down charts, velocity reports, but they didn't represent actual state of the product, because we had those issues with the backlog, and team was covering lots of risks with estimates. So our velocity was not stable and was not a metric which we could rely on. Again, team was focusing on the requirements provided by the business, but not on the solution or a problem that we're trying to resolve. And we constantly had a problem with refinement sessions that happened just one day before a sprint, which was all the time very stressful and caused a lot of negative emotions. And our ways of working were more focused like on resource utilizing rather than on delivering value. And such approach caused lots of risks for the business, both for our risks like a service provider, for Gödel, and for the customer. First of all, it was a high retention risk. Like key developers were ready to leave the company because of the problems in the communications on the product. Lots of stress and no feeling of purpose affected negatively our velocity engagement of the team in the delivery. And as a result, most of all our ceremonies were annoying but not helpful. It's like the situation when you have a retrospective and a team comes and says, why do we need this session? Anyway, nothing changes. And because of the communication problems, of the way of working, we discovered lots of bugs in our code, both while testing and in production as well. So to start resolve this situation, the first thing I started to do, even before moving with more advanced practices and as a discussion, I limited the work in progress for the team. So we could have more time to speak about our processes, speak about our problems, at least I could understand where the roots of such situation. And by limiting work in progress, we had a chance to have more time to talk with the team, to talk with our stakeholders and introduce them some of the problems we had on the project. And finally, such approach helped us to find the way out. First of all, because we had some issues with backlog inconsistency, we needed to create a funnel which will help to create some kind of flow for the delivery work, and will help us to avoid such situation when we have to refine tasks one day before the sprint, where we'll have more clear requirements and we'll be able to understand what should be delivered in advance, and the things that will protect team from rapid changes in priorities. So we had to adjust something that already existed without major changes to increase team happiness score. And we started process to preparing tasks for refinement and for creating flow. We start working with our stakeholders to clarify requirements and manage priorities, not the way it was before, like task appeared, something more important, and it's just placed in a sprint backlog without any refinement sections. But when I introduced the team the vision and the approaches how we are going to create the flow, they were so discouraged, and they didn't have trust to the stakeholders, to the company, to the managers, and so they just left. But we spoke a little bit more about the issues we had. I introduced them Kanban method, and there is one thing that always drags developers' attention to the Kanban method is just a chance of not spending time on estimates after all the system will be built. So after this, they heard this idea, they just smelled this, the possibility of more agile ways of working without estimates. They fell in love with the idea, and we had to start moving forward with implementing the changes. My previous experience showed that major changes cannot be made at once. We had to create step-by-step process and do next changes only when the previous change was confirmed working good. So we just set it up a practice of technical analysis in the beginning. So to answer for the question, how things should be implemented. So instead of focusing on requirements, we tried to analyze our technical implementation and discuss with the stakeholders possible solutions and the complexity for the product. So from that point, we have agreed with the stakeholders, with product owner, with product directors, that developers will be responsible for defining the implementation. So and this was very encouraging, and we started to clarify requirements before implementation. It helped us to create a solid team that speaks and communicates with each other, that shares our views. Anyway, it helped us to share the ownership for the outcomes with the team. And before the first task was implemented this way, we had some doubts that it will work, but when stakeholders understood, and especially product owner understood, that there is no necessity to think over those complicated technical stuff, how things should be done, or define requirements in details if the team can do this. And team was happy to define those technical implementation themselves, because I'm sure everyone have seen these memes when developers receive requirements from the client and their hair is burning. And such approach helps to resolve this point of conflict. And this protects team definitely from unnecessary stress. But these practices not only helped us to share the ownership with the team, involve team in a collaboration, it helped us also to introduce even more questions which we hadn't asked before. Exactly what problem we're trying to solve. Focus on the problem rather than a solution. What systems will be affected by our implementation? Because since we have limited our work in progress, we became more sensitive to the blockers on our downstream implementation part. We started to address the dependencies before we started picking up work in progress. And we started thinking about how we're going to accept the features, how we're going to prove that we have reached the goal. And answering step by step to these questions helped us to build this funnel. This is how our downstream looks like now at the moment. So we have a backlog of ideas which is formed by product owner, stakeholders, and even with the help of developers in terms of tech depths or the changes in already delivered features. After we choose collaboratively items that has highest priority and should be taken in progress after they will be reviewed on further stages. The most important thing of all this downstream story is that tasks can be blocked, stopped, or deleted at any stage. After, for example, we have picked up task and started doing system analysis, and we discovered something that prevents us from delivering items in production. For example, once we have started work with more advanced advertising for our clients, and we suddenly discovered that it cannot be implemented as the way we want it because of some legal restrictions. So we refused to deliver this task even on system analysis phase instead of going further with technical analysis or implementation. So on system analysis phase, we try to understand what systems will be affected, involve stakeholders in the discussion to highlight some areas which we are not aware of. At this phase, we also define user stories or define epic or create user stories for this epic, which we'll be working on in future. And later on technical analysis phase, we review the outcomes of system analysis phase and provide some details of implementation, and that helps us to understand and decide what we will focus on while implementation. For example, some stuff can be too complicated from technical perspective, and our stakeholders would better postpone the implementation and move forward after we deliver some POC, proof of concept for the idea, and get first results from the market. And acceptance strategy is a phase where we involve quality engineers to discuss how we can accept the feature. In most cases, it's just a formal stage, but sometimes times it helps to discover some cases and um, adds additional value to what should be developed. And after we have decided with acceptance strategy, task passes commitment lane and goes ready for development. Only after the task was delivered in ready for development, we say that we will work on the implementation in future. Before the commitment lane, which is um, all phases before ready for development, does not mean that we will start implementation of the task. So such approach helped us to reach first results within 3 months, and we reduced our delivery time from 45 to around 10 business days. That's very inspiring and interesting results that inspired the team, our client, to move forward with our approaches to work. The team started contributing into roadmap, so it's the only team on the client side that constantly argues with stakeholders about roadmap and what should be placed in it. And which also encourages other teams. Some of the people, some of the developers from other teams does not even understand such approach, and very surprised by the fact that we discuss with stakeholders our future steps. We have reduced time spent in meetings because we now had more a solid approach to preparing tasks that will be delivered. And because of limited work in progress, we have also reduced uncompleted features. So basically we focus on delivering work rather than on starting a new one. And all this communication helped us to reduce bugs found both while testing and in production, because in previous, most of the bugs were result of misunderstanding rather than some wrong implementation. And because we had STATIK next 3 months, we have increased our predictability by using lead time distribution charts, and which helped us to plan without actually estimating tasks. Another outcomes of such approach was resulted in the way that backend developers started to do front-end tasks. Because imagine the situation when your work in progress is limited and you can't, as backend developer, pick up new tasks because there are some unresolved issues with tasks already in progress. So backend developers at first started to communicate with front-end developers, and then step by step they improved their skills in front-end development and started to do front-end tasks as front-end developers. And the team became owner of the roadmap, and which is the biggest win I couldn't even thought of when we started the project. So again, also this process looks very solid and logical. We still have issues with protecting it from stakeholders' influence, because they still want to take something from a backlog of ideas and place it in ready for development. And we constantly have to address them, our idea, show them results, and every time we have to explain why we have decreased our delivery time from 45 days to 10 business days. And every time stakeholders are trying to break this flow and skip the queue. And it requires lots of energy from the team, and requires my attention to manage this flow. And after all, also this exact case and solution can be not applicable to your project. There are some learnings, I believe, that can be used across the projects, across the teams, no matter what guys are focusing on. First of all is try to limit work in progress. Try to focus on delivering items that you have on support rather than on utilizing the resources and bringing on plate more tasks. Trust your team. Developers, to my personal experience, are the most intelligent persons in the company. So they're able to do much more than you can expect. So trust them and they will pay forward. And don't try to change everything at once. Even if you have a brilliant idea, at first try to sell it and then do step-by-step improvements, which will not be a shock for your team or for your client. So that's it regarding the presentation.
So
Let's
let's maybe do the following. As people are using Zoom, and Zoom is usually using by the voice asking, so maybe let's give opportunity to the colleagues and friends to ask the question. So colleagues, please mute your microphone, yeah, or unmute it and ask the questions. You have opportunity to do this. Let's check. Or just if you want, you can use the raise hand, and we can give you opportunity to ask the questions. Just it would be maybe easy. Let's wait 1-2 minutes maybe for understanding the procedure. Dear colleagues, please, dear friends. If no, then I have several from preparation to this talk. There were several questions as well. Colleagues, I don't see any comments or whatever. So Alex, while we're waiting, I have gathered several questions from people who read the description of the talk and some others. There are a lot of questions. I would ask, and then to Christoph will make the questions. So you have the process of upstream, yes, something like backlog of ideas chosen and so on. Do you use some rejection procedures, so reject some of the tickets or work type items from this process, and do you measure this this amount of such kind of types or issues or cards from the process?
Yeah, definitely. We do some reject, as I said before. We at first of all, we try to reject items which will not pass the legal department. So we try if it's all that relates with significant changes on the information we collect from the clients. And some stuff is blocked by technical implementation. For example, we want to introduce some more advanced practices, or for example, we're now trying to split monoliths into microservices, the dream of every engineer. And sometimes we, while going through the upstream, reject some of such ideas because or postpone them because they're too expensive, for example, at the moment for the company, while they still want to see more increment of the functionality for the end customer. And about the measurement of this, to be honest, no, at this moment we do not measure the rejected items. And that's a good idea after
okay.
this.
Thank you so much. The question from Christoph, how do you limit work in progress? Do you have, first of all, limit work in progress, and how do you use this by column? So on what process point of view, where you have it?
Got it. Good question. We just from my experience, it's very difficult to find a like silver bullet in terms of what WIP limit should be, independent on team's capacity or whatever. So we started experiments, and after a few changes, we have limited work in progress for the stages like in progress, code review, and testing. So for these stages, three stages, we have one WIP limit, and for now it's about 7 items, and we had now headcount for developers, full-time developers.
Okay, thank you so much. The question from Dmitry Dushakov. Sorry if I have made mistake. Please apologize. So, what kind of contract did you have with the customer? The types could be different: fixed price, time and material, managed capacity, managed services. What type of better to tell maybe engagement? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good question, because my previous experience in outsourcing business was very different to what I have currently in Gödel. So basically, it's like it sounds like augmented team. So we work as augmented team to our customer, and it's not time and material. And basically, Gödel is responsible for retention risk and for working with people and the whole stuff we have on the client side. So like holidays and etc.
Am I right, Alex, that it's more likely like managed capacity? So Gödel is responsible for capacity of the team, for risk of staffing and augmentation and retention and rotation, but the scope-based, I mean, scope approaches and setting the ideas is on the customer responsibility side.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much. Very interesting question as well from Gulnara Purwachenko. Sorry for mistakes in surnames. I'm not the professional in pronunciation of surnames, but will try to do my best. Who decides what exact ideas are chosen? Is there any dedicated meetings for that? And who facilitates such kind of events or process?
Yeah, that's a love this question, because we had a question to the cadency of such meetings, how often they should appear, and we have set a limit, a minimal limit for for development, and based on our throughput, we know that we deliver about 7 tasks in 2 weeks to our clients. So we have set up a limit here that if we have less than 7 items here in ready for development, then we need to pay more attention and focus on the upstream. And who makes choices? Choices are made by a senior leadership team, by our product owner, and by developers themselves. So it's kind of collaboration. We try to introduce ideas, and first of all, we prepare the backlog on our side with product owner and with the team. But after we pitch to our senior leadership team if they want to make some changes.
Great, thank you so much. The next question from Lukasz. You mentioned that stakeholders are trying to go around this process. What needs of those stakeholders are not being met at the moment?
Mm, that's a tricky one. So we have there is also a conflict between um, business and developers. Uh, it's very important to understand and to introduce the idea that no matter what you are doing, we're here doing a technological business, and we should focus not only on developing new features, and we should also take care about how our product performs and meets the expectations of the client in regards to some changes in the market or our competitors' improvements. And of course, at the moment, our stakeholders would like to see here more product related features. But at the same time, we have faced few major issues with increase in monolith code base, which caused lots of troubles with resolving some library inconsistency, because application is not newly built. It's been on the market for many years. And we're trying to find the right proportion between business outcomes and with technological outcomes. Is it answering the question?
Yes, thank you. And also the question, how do you verify ideas from backlog with stakeholders?
We verify ideas from chosen. So we try to uh, um, collaboratively find out ideas that uh, fits our strategy, and after that we add some more information to the ticket, and only after that we start the discussion, and we try to add some outputs of not outputs, outcomes. So define how it affects our system or how it affects our customers. For example, if we want to add new feature to the product not related with business, and we try to predict just on a high level, or at least define areas that, for example, this will increase our site speed performance, or this one will help us to get more user registrations. And after they're confirmed, we move forward with system analysis and again do the same exercise.
Thank you so much. The next question would be the following. How often tasks go, not task, but issue type items, yeah? So go through the system analysis and technical analysis steps or stages, but later turn out not to be top priority. So here, it's my understanding that overall or overloading of the statuses, but the prioritization was maybe changed after or so on.
Yeah, that happens often. Like 20-30% of our tasks are stuck and ready for development, and we review them once in a quarter and kill those.
Thank you. And last question, at least what I see. So you maybe have different issue types in your backlog. So I mean support items, item for new features, some, I don't know, R&D tasks. So do you have some agreement about different types of issues or backlog items with stakeholders and how you manage this stuff? So do you have some agreements or maybe analog of SLAs or whatever?
The question is clear. So we do R&D when story or epic reaches technical analysis phase. So we do here researches on to define the way it will be implemented. With the REST tasks, we currently haven't faced the necessity of creating this kind of SLA. So at the moment, we have a chance to agree, and no need of adding such practice. At the moment, maybe something will change.
Okay, thank you so much. No, we have the question. Sorry, I started to tell earlier than the question now asked from Gulnara. How do you calculate a delivery time before and after changes to the process? Am I right in thinking that commitment point after changes started from ready for development status? So commitment point is it commitment point is ready for development, and how you calculated delivery time? Usually it's lead time, but maybe I'm mistaken. So from after and before and after changes of the process. So I mean here question of transformation from one state to another. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking about take time from ready for development to deployed. So this I was talking about this time, not from item was, for example, chosen till it was delivered, because some items stuck here in upstream, and after all, some die here, some of the tasks or ideas.
So really commitment point is ready for development. You are interpreted this like commit. Okay. So colleagues, if you haven't any questions, I would recommend to use the page on the community Z, so the talk page, and here you can add all your questions based on the presence on this event or after when you look to the video. So I hope Alex would be glad to answer to them. Yeah, Alex, thank you so much for your time, for really good presentation. I hope the information what you have shared would be useful for them, and we glad to see you on all our events, not only on this at least. Colleagues, thank you so much for your time. Please, Alex, your voice.
Thank you guys for joining the presentation. We're happy to answer your questions. Anyway, reach me if you wanted to discuss something. I'm happy to take part in the discussion or share my experience and show the examples on the project I'm working on.
Again, thank you so much. Have a good day and see you next time. Thank you,
See you
colleagues.
guys.
See you. Bye.